working man blues. Here come the working man chorus, folks.
Herb Day here. Recognize that guitar picking? Well, on today's Beyond the Stage, we slipped backstage at Richard Lynch's Keeping It Country Farm in Waynesville, Ohio recently to talk with guitar great Red Voelkert. Red has played for nearly every country star who was a star, including being the lead guitar player for The Strangers during the final years of Merle Haggard's life. I'll introduce you to Red right after this. Beyond the Stage is made possible in part by Southern State Community College's Truck Driving Academy, where you can be behind the wheel of a big rig in as soon as 4 weeks. Call 937-393-3431 to find out how. And now, Beyond the Stage. We were talking a little bit off camera about your heritage, and this was good. I asked you if Voelkert was German, and you told me
it was Belgium.
Belgium.
Yeah.
Now, were you raised here in America, or were you?
No, I was born and raised in Canada.
In Canada?
Yeah, I was born in Vancouver on the west coast and lived in Saskatchewan and Alberta, the next two provinces over, like states over,
right,
east of Vancouver, and grew up there and played music and learned how to play there and all of that sort of stuff. And my parents raised me in Vancouver and started playing when I was 10.
Yeah.
And then, got the bug to go play in bands and travel around and do all that. And wound up doing that and never stopped.
Yeah.
Too dumb to quit.
Well, it gets in your blood, and it's like a virus. It's
a bad one, yeah.
Yeah, you can't get past it. Boys and girls, I'm telling you, you're sitting beside me, one of the greatest guitar players, if not the greatest guitar player I've heard. In fact,
you need to get out now.
If that's an invitation, I'll give you the address to send the tickets.
All right.
But this fella has played with the greats, and kind of give us an idea of who you've played with through the years.
Well, in Canada, I played in several bands that were popular up there, and then a lot of those bands backed up single artists in the 70s and early 80s. They would bring up, Dave Dudley and a whole bunch of different, Freddie Hart and Leona Williams, and just all kind of different people would come up there. And
some of my favorites.
Kenny Rogers, before Lucille hit, I was in a band, and he traveled around, and of course, before Lucille, he couldn't afford to bring a band to a bunch of places because they didn't pay enough, so he would go as a solo artist. And Vern Gosdin, same thing, before they had big hits, and they would come, they were already had a first career and was kind of waning, and before the second one took off, they would travel around without a band and play with house bands in, different towns that they traveled to. So I got to do that quite a bit with a bunch of folks there before I moved to the States. And I moved I went to California, being from Vancouver. I started there and headed south and wound up in LA and Santa Cruz and San Jose for a little while, and about 4 years there. And then I went to Texas for a few months and just thumped around there trying to get, learn to play, get better, and, just work playing in bands. And eventually my goal was to get to Nashville, and I wasn't so much bent on if I could get a job or anything. I thought, well, I'll, fix lawnmowers or whatever.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. I want to play and all. But my goal was to see some of the great guitar players that I'd been trying to mimic and steal stuff off of records as a young buck, and so I thought, well, if I go to Nashville, I'll get to see Buddy Emmons and Phil Baugh and all these great, Grady Martin, all these great guitar players. So once I got there, I, started playing, and I ended up playing full time with a lot of different people and doing the club thing 7 nights a week. And in that town, you could play 3 shifts a day if you work hard at it. And you can play 11 to 2, 2 to 6, 6 to 10, and 10 to 2.
I remember the days of playing 7 days a week, and that's for a much younger man.
Oh yeah, but what a way to learn. I mean,
know.
for me, I was a single guy at the time, and then I had nothing but time, and I eat up with the guitar, and if I wasn't playing, I was practicing anyway, so I might as well be making that big $40 if I could.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So I did that, and got to meet a bunch of folks and played with Rhonda Vincent and traveled around with her when she went country back in the early '90s. We did a Statler Brothers tour and for the summer, and so I got to play with her for that. And while that tour was going on, the guitar player had to leave for a funeral thing for a friend of his for about a week and a half. So I got to fill in with the Statlers and do that as well. And that was awesome, meeting those folks and Jimmy Fortune, those guys.
Yeah.
And just a bunch of Johnny Paycheck for a while. I did some filling in for a lot of guys, and some things on the Opry and different folks. And then hooked up with Merle Haggard and traveled with him quite a bit. And we did everybody's TV show back then, George Jones and all those shows. And so I got to meet those folks and play with them, that kind of stuff.
Well, you mentioned Merle Haggard. Do I understand correctly that all those years ago when you were in Canada and you were getting started, you kind of had the goal in the back of your mind that you wanted to play for Merle Haggard?
Oh, as a kid, you bet. I just loved that kind of music,
Yeah.
especially that kind of guitar playing, which was Roy Nichols, his guitar player at the
Yeah.
time. And I always studied that style of playing, so when the job opportunity came up, it was, yeah, I'm ready.
Tell me how that happened.
Well, I was playing in Printer's Alley at this one club, Skull's Rainbow Room, 6 nights a week. And I'd done it for several years. Merle, when they would come to town, they'd do a TV show, and they'd be done by, 8 o'clock at the latest. So they would show up at, like 8 o'clock, and they'd hit the bars when they were done with the TV taping.
Sure.
So I met a bunch of guys in the band that way. The Skull's Rainbow Room where I played was the last place open in Nashville 6 nights a week. They quit at 3 o'clock, so we played, from 9:45 till 3 every night. So those guys, a bunch of them came in, and so I got to know them, and they'd get up and jam with us, the little trio, and got to be friendly with them and stuff. And then when the job came open, apparently the band, Merle had asked his band guys, he said, well, we need a new guitar player. Last one quit, and we need a new guy. Who do you guys recommend? And 5 out of 8 of them recommended me.
How about that?
So he called me on the phone, and I said, the phone rang. Hello, is this Red Voelkert? I said, yeah. He said, this is Merle Haggard. I said, Murph, you son of a bitch. I thought it was a buddy of mine. Jim Murphy, he was a real prankster, steel guitar player. Just something he would do. So, of course, I blamed him,
Sure, absolutely.
And he goes, no, my name is Merle. I'm a singer. And I went, who says they're a singer when there's somebody like that?
Yeah, really.
Well, maybe, And he says, Norm Hamlet gave me your number, which is his band leader, steel player. I'm like, okay.
Sorry about that SOB thing. You didn't take that serious, did you?
So he laughed and he said, I'm looking for a guitar player, and a bunch of guys in the band recommended you. Just wondered if you're interested. And about a millionth of a second, I said, yeah, sure. Of course.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened.
That's
no
fantastic.
audition, nothing. Just show up and play.
Well, sure.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Well, I mean, a man's word was his bond, and the
He's
people
that kind of guy. You bet.
Now, 5 out of 8 recommended you.
I spent my time getting even with them others.
There you go. I was wondering if you were going to. Tell me what you're doing these days.
I moved. I was in Austin, Texas for 20 years, and I moved there about 2 months before COVID hit. And I just tired of living in cities and doing the club thing till 3 in the morning all the time, all my life. And I said, I'm done with this. I want to go where there's none of that. So I moved to a little place called Galax, Virginia, in Southwest Virginia, which is a bluegrass, old-time music fiddle town.
Yeah.
So there's no Telecasters or old country music, and they never heard of Conway Twitty. So it's awesome. I love it.
That's the world we're living in, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's all right. So COVID hit, and I had 2 years off, so I, did a bunch of fence work and built chicken coops, and we got a farm out there. So
Yeah.
I did a bunch of that and got all that in order, and then it seemed like somebody flipped the switch and the phone started ringing. Hey, you want to come here? You want to come there? So now I spend probably from May to middle of November traveling. I'll go out 2 or 3 weeks and home for a week or two. 2 or 3 weeks, home for a week or two.
Yeah.
I do that all spring, summer, and fall pretty much.
Yeah.
And then lay off for the winter, as nobody wants to drive in the winter.
Have a family?
I got a wife and probably 30 animals
Yeah.
that are our kids. She's got 2 kids that are grown and
Right.
they live in Austin and grandbaby.
Does she travel with you, or does she stay home and
She
take care of the
has.
animals?
Well, we kind of do that in shifts too, but we got some friends that take care of the animals when we need it. But she has come a few times, but the music thing is not the same as, oh, we're going to St. Louis. Oh, can we go to the museums? No, we have to hurry up and get there and set up and wait to go play, and then we're driving all night to the next gig.
Yeah.
So that kind of cured her from that kind of travel.
Yeah, well, that kind of takes you back to the old days, though, because that's the way it was way back in the days of old when nights were bold. I mean, you would just one city right after another, jump off the stage. And
Yeah, that's how you do it. Traveling on the road. You know?
Often didn't know what town you were in.
A lot of times, yeah.
Well, I know that they are summoning you. You're going to perform for us tonight at Richard Lynch's Keeping It Country Farm, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. Red Voelkert on Beyond the Stage. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Beyond the Stage. If you enjoy what you see here, please click like at the bottom of your screen and subscribe to my channel. For more of your favorite country music and the men and women who make it great, I hope you'll visit us often here on Beyond the Stage.